Not every rise to power is visible. In the final days of the Republic, as the galaxy tore itself apart in the Clone Wars, subtle forces were at work, erasing key figures from the political landscape without a trace. Their disappearances were often explained away as the unfortunate costs of war, but the truth is far darker than most realized. Palpatine's ascent was not just political, it was a calculated removal of anyone who posed a threat to his ambition. The galaxy saw only the public face of a chancellor, but behind the scenes, he was methodically removing obstacles, one by one. Today, we unravel the secretive path that led Palpatine to ultimate power, a journey built on silence and shadows. When the Clone Wars began, Supreme Chancellor Palpatine was the public face of stability, the man leading the Republic in its fight against the Separatists. His image was carefully curated, presenting himself as the ultimate defender of the Republic's values. The Senate and much of the galaxy believed in him, but behind the scenes, Palpatine was already laying the groundwork for his ultimate goal, absolute power. For Palpatine, though, political maneuvering wasn't enough. He knew that for his plan to succeed, certain individuals had to be removed, not just silenced politically, but erased. He wielded assassination as an extension of his manipulation, creating a shadow war where his enemies disappeared without a trace. Seti Ashgad, a respected politician with strong connections, was one of Palpatine's first victims. Ashgad had made a name for himself opposing Palpatine's growing control over the Senate. His voice, once loud and resonant, became a threat to Palpatine's quiet consolidation of power. And then, one day, Seti Ashgad simply disappeared. No explanation, no investigation. It was as though he had never existed. This wasn't the last time Palpatine made someone disappear. Ashgad's fate was a chilling reminder to the few who dared to oppose Palpatine. To the galaxy at large, Ashgad was just another casualty in the turbulent era of the Clone Wars. But to those paying attention, it was a sign that Palpatine was willing to do whatever it took to eliminate anyone who threatened his growing control. As the war dragged on, Bail Organa, one of the Republic's most respected senators, became increasingly alarmed by the sheer amount of power being granted to the Supreme Chancellor. Though he was a diplomat, Organa found himself at the heart of the political resistance against Palpatine, rallying others who shared his concerns. He cultivated strong ties with the Jedi High Council, recognizing that the Jedi too were wary of Palpatine's expanding control. To many, Organa represented the best of what the Republic stood for: fairness, diplomacy, and a commitment to democratic principles. He was a man of integrity, unafraid to challenge Palpatine's more controversial decisions. But to Palpatine, Organa was much more than just an opposing voice in the Senate. He was a problem. One day, returning to Coruscant after a diplomatic mission, Organa's ship was attacked by pirates. The pirates breached the cruiser's defenses with alarming precision, making their way toward Organa. As they closed in on the senator, Organa's fate seemed sealed. But at the last moment, a squadron of Jedi fighters appeared, saving Organa from what appeared to be certain death. The pirates, having been thwarted, were destroyed in the skirmish, leaving no survivors. It wasn't until later that Organa began to realize the attack had been far too precise to be a coincidence. The timing, the precision, the lack of survivors, it all felt orchestrated. But by whom? For now, however, Organa had no reason to believe that his near-death encounter was anything but the chaotic byproduct of war, a much darker truth that would come to light only later. But Bail Organa wasn't the only one watching Palpatine with growing concern. Another figure, once a key player in the galaxy, had also taken note of the Chancellor's rise. Finis Valorum, the former Supreme Chancellor of the Republic, had been silent for years, disgraced after being forced to resign from office. His fall had been engineered by Palpatine, but at the time, no one knew how deeply Palpatine's hand had been involved. After his political exile, Valorum had retreated into the shadows, spending years in seclusion. To the galaxy, he was a relic of the past, an old man whose time had come and gone. But Valorum hadn't stopped watching. He had seen how Palpatine rose to power and the vacuum left by his own removal through a vote of no confidence. And he had witnessed with growing horror how the Senate handed Palpatine more and more authority. By the time the Security and Enforcement Act was proposed, Valorum had seen enough. The act, if passed, would give Palpatine near total control of the Republic's security forces, essentially cementing his place as the unchallenged ruler of the galaxy. For Valorum, it was clear that Palpatine wasn't just seeking temporary power to fight the war, but Valorum knew he couldn't act alone. If he was going to stop Palpatine, he needed help, and there was only one man he could trust, Bail Organa. Late one night, Finis Valorum arrived at 500 Republica, the towering complex where Bail Organa resided. It was a quiet visit, one that Valorum knew carried great risk. If Palpatine's spies discovered his presence, both he and Organa could be in grave danger. But Valorum had no choice. He couldn't stay silent any longer. For years, Valorum had watched as Palpatine manipulated the Senate, acquiring more power with every crisis. He had seen how those who opposed Palpatine, like Seti Ashgad, disappeared without a trace, and he knew that Palpatine would stop at nothing to achieve his ultimate goal. As the two men spoke, Valorum warned Organa about Palpatine's true nature. He revealed that the attack on Organa's ship hadn't been a random act of piracy. It had been orchestrated by Palpatine himself, a calculated move to eliminate a powerful political opponent. And now, with the Security and Enforcement Act on the table, Palpatine was closer than ever to achieving his goal. But Valorum also had a warning. If Organa continued to oppose Palpatine, he would become the next target. Palpatine wouldn't stop until everyone who stood in his way was eliminated. Despite the danger, Bail Organa refused to back down. He vowed to confront the Chancellor, to fight against the passage of the Security Act, no matter the cost. Valorum left 500 Republica that night knowing he had done what he could, but he also knew deep down that the wheels of Palpatine's plan were already in motion, and soon those who opposed the Chancellor would be gone. What Valorum didn't realize was that Palpatine had ears everywhere, even in the simple custodial droids that roamed the halls of Bail Organa's residence. Every word of their conversation had been captured and swiftly relayed back to the Chancellor's desk. Valorum's warnings, his defiance, Palpatine heard it all. Not long after his meeting with Bail Organa, Finis Valorum boarded a freighter, the Star of Isken, preparing to leave Coruscant, but he would never reach his destination. As the ship ascended into the Coruscanti sky, an explosion tore through its hull, killing everyone aboard. The official reports called it a terrorist bombing, an all too common occurrence in the chaos of the Clone Wars. But for those who knew the truth, the explanation didn't hold up. The timing of Valorum's death, coming just days before the Security Enforcement Act was scheduled to pass, was far too convenient. Valorum's assassination was another crucial step in Palpatine's plan to eliminate those who posed a threat to his growing power. With Valorum gone, one of the last significant voices of opposition was silenced, and Palpatine's path to total control became even clearer. The passage of the Security and Enforcement Act solidified Palpatine's hold over the Republic. With the Senate's blessing, he now had the legal authority to monitor and control the galaxy's security forces, giving him the power he needed to crush any resistance. Valorum's death wasn't just the end of a disgraced politician. It was the moment the Republic truly began to fall. The last real voice of opposition had been silenced, and with that silence, Palpatine's ascent was nearly complete. But what if Valorum had survived? Could he have stopped Palpatine? Could he have exposed the Chancellor's true nature before it was too late? It's stories like this that reveal just how deep Palpatine's shadow reached. Valorum was just one of many who fell victim to his relentless rise, as the bodies of those who stood in his way marked his path to ultimate power. If you want to explore more stories from a galaxy far, far away, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our future dives into Star Wars lore. Thanks for watching, and may the dark side be with you.